Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll continue following the intense journey surrounding CEO James and the strong-willed young woman, LT Dipe. In the previous episode, after a long period of recovery, Dipe returned to her uncle and aunt's peaceful countryside home. However, that peace didn't last long. The antagonist John, who has always harbored deep resentment toward James, finally made his move. He secretly sent his trusted henchmen to the place where Dipe was staying, planning to kidnap her not only for revenge, but also to use her as leverage to threaten James into submission. But at that critical moment, something unexpected happened. Trang, who once fiercely opposed both Dipe and James, suddenly appeared and rescued Dipe from the kidnappers. Did Trang know about John's plot beforehand? Or was her appearance purely coincidental? Was this act of help truly out of remorse and a desire to make amends? Or is it part of a larger scheme orchestrated by John and Trang's father?
Has Trang truly changed? Can James trust her again? And Dipe, after everything, will she end up hurt once more for placing her trust in the wrong person? All will be revealed in today's video. Make sure to watch until the end so you don't miss the latest developments in this high-stakes battle between light and darkness, between justice and deep-seated vengeance.
Trang, the woman who once fiercely opposed Dipe, had a night she would never forget yesterday. By sheer chance, she overheard a conversation between John's two most loyal henchmen discussing their plan to kidnap Dipe. At first, Trang had no intention of intervening. She didn't care. In fact, she thought she had no reason to save someone who had once been her romantic rival. And yet, as she walked away, something began to stir inside her. She couldn't shake the image of Dipe's eyes, so sincere, so forgiving even after all the pain she had caused her in the past. That look haunted her for years. Trang had lived with selfishness and resentment, but this time, perhaps for the first time, she truly wanted to do the right thing. So she turned back. Quietly, she raced ahead of the two henchmen, reaching Dipe just in time to warn her. Because of that, Dipe narrowly escaped the kidnapping plot when the two men returned to report the failed mission to John, not only because they were discovered, but because Trang herself had intervened and saved Dipe. John was consumed with rage. He smashed the wine glass in his hand, his eyes darkening in disbelief. Trang, the one he always considered a loyal ally, the daughter of Mr. Nhang, his longtime accomplice. More than that, she had once secretly loved James and did everything she could to eliminate Dipe to win his heart. Trang turning around, siding with Dipe, was a move John had never anticipated. It wasn't just a shock, it was a betrayal he couldn't stomach. His fists clenched, and in his cold, narrowed eyes was a murderous glare. Trang's unexpected rescue of Dipe left John not only furious but completely stunned. In his mind, even if Trang didn't know the full extent of her father Mr. schemes, she would never help Dipe. After all, Trang had tried to harm Dipe many times before simply because she was in love with James and saw Dipe as the biggest obstacle in her path to winning his heart. And yet now, Trang was the one who saved her. This unpredictable turn of events made John not only enraged but deeply suspicious. But from that very rage, a bold idea began to take shape in John's mind. He immediately sought out Mr. His longtime ally to discuss a new plan. "Let Trang become part of our plan," John said, eyes gleaming with calculation. "She just saved Dipe. This is the perfect time to build trust. Let Dipe and James believe Trang has changed, that she's now on their side. And once that trust is strong enough, she'll become the key piece in our game." Mr. was silent. As a father, he had never imagined placing his own daughter in such a dangerous role. He still loved Trang deeply. Though he knew she had once gone astray, he never intended for her to become a pawn in a brutal game of revenge and power. "Trang is stubborn, but she is also sensitive," he murmured. "If she finds out the truth, it will break her more than anyone else." But John didn't let up. He kept painting vivid visions of successive future where, once Trang gained the full trust of James and Dipe, they could be led straight into a trap. The plan would unfold smoothly. James's company would collapse. All shares would fall into Mr. Nhan's. James would lose everything, his career and the woman he loved. We don't even have to do much, John said persuasively. Just let your daughter play the perfect hero and she'll lead them into the trap herself. Mr. sat in silence for a long time. Inside him raged a battle between a father's love and the unrelenting thirst for power he had carried for years. And finally he nodded, a decision that seemed clever on the surface, but may well be the turning point that sets off a chain of devastating tragedies. That day, Mr. spent the entire afternoon having a private conversation with Trang. As the soft sunset faded through the window, his voice was calm, lacking the usual sternness she had grown used to. I know, you probably think I'm a bad person, he began, and I know you helped Dipe escape from John. Trang didn't deny it. She met her father's eyes directly and asked, then tell me the truth. Are you working with John? Are you really trying to hurt Dipe and James too? Mr. didn't deflect. He nodded, then spoke plainly. No more secrets. He told Trang everything from the bitter past to the motives behind the decisions he was now making. He spoke of Trang's grandfather, a brilliant businessman who, according to him, had been destroyed by James's family, betrayed, robbed, left with nothing. The once powerful family fell into ruin. Her grandfather died heartbroken, unable to withstand the collapse. Since then, the hatred had carved itself deep into Mr.'s soul. Trang sat in stunned silence. She had never imagined that behind the cold, calculating man she thought her father was, there hid such a buried, aching pain. But the more she understood, the more conflicted she felt. She loved James. Truly, without calculation. Without deception, she didn't want to hurt him. She couldn't bear to be part of a scheme that might cost him everything: his career, his honor, the people he loved. Yet, she also couldn't turn her back on the man who had raised her. She couldn't pretend she didn't know about the legacy of betrayal etched into her family's past. Trang felt torn in two. Her heart split between two worlds, a sincere love and blood ties bound by loyalty and generational pain. After a long, heavy silence, she looked at her father with sorrow in her eyes. What do you want me to do? Mr. took her hand, his voice trembling. Help me, not for blind revenge but for justice. Make James and his family pay for what they did. You can do this, Trang. All you have to do is earn their trust. Moved by his desperate plea, Trang finally nodded. I'll do it. I promise. I'll help you reclaim our family's honor. But as she stepped out of that room and into the still, quiet night, a strange feeling washed over her. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't satisfaction. It was fear. The fear that once she entered this game, there would be no turning back. After that heavy conversation with her father, Trang didn't make a decision right away. She needed time. For many nights, she lay awake, silently pacing her room like someone trapped between two worlds. On one side, her father, a man who had endured so much pain from the past. On the other, James, the man she loved in silence. And Dipe, the girl she once saw as a rival, now the woman James truly cared for. Trang knew she couldn't make a choice while her heart remained clouded. She needed an answer from James himself. One late afternoon, as golden sunlight bathed the small courtyard, Trang came to see him. There was no anger on her face, no tension, just a quiet, composed version of herself. She looked more mature than she had ever seemed before. James, she began, I have a question, not as someone from your past, but as someone who needs the truth. James nodded gently. Trang looked into his eyes, still as warm and sincere as she remembered. Do you know anything about the past between your family and mine? She asked. About why my grandfather died in bitterness and why my family collapsed completely. James was taken aback. His expression shifted from surprise to reflection. After a long pause, he shook his head. No, Trangs, I don't. All I know is that my grandfather passed away from heart disease when I was very young. No one in my family ever mentioned any connection or conflict with yours. If there was any resentment from the past, I've never known about it. Trang stood silent. His response carried no pretense, no deceit, just the raw, painful truth. They, the next generation, were merely victims of a feud they never started. James, she continued, voice softening, are you happy with Dipe? He didn't need time to think. His eyes lit up and a faint, genuine smile touched his lips. Very happy. When I'm with her, I feel at peace. Like I've found something truly important in my life. Those words cut into Trang's heart like a gentle blade. It hurt, but not with jealousy, not with bitterness. Just a quiet ache, the kind that comes from loving someone and finally learning to let go. She took a deep breath. In that moment, Trang knew she could no longer stand on the side of darkness. She couldn't be part of a scheme that would destroy the happiness of two innocent people, all because of a past that didn't belong to them. Thank you, Trang said, smiling faintly. Your answer helped me see things clearly. That very evening, she returned home and faced her father. I'm sorry, Dad, she said firmly. I can't hurt innocent people. I can't destroy the happiness of the man I love just because of the past. If there is a grudge to be ended, I want to be the one to end it, not carry it on any longer. Trang had chosen the hardest path, to give up the chance of having James, to walk away from being the trump card in a plan of revenge. She chose to let go, to protect James and Dipe, and for her, that was enough. As long as he was happy. After deciding not to support John's plan, Trang knew she was stepping into a dangerous game. If she showed resistance too soon, John would grow suspicious. A man like him would never allow anyone to ruin what he had carefully orchestrated, and if he discovered she had changed sides, he wouldn't sit idly by. Trang also understood one thing clearly. She couldn't act recklessly and put her father in danger. Nor could she allow James and Dipe to become John's immediate targets. So she chose to act cautiously, step by step, quietly but effectively. That day, Trang took the initiative to meet James. With a calm and composed demeanor, she mentioned that there had been some issues at the lumber warehouse. Regarding a new batch of materials, she asked him to come along to inspect the situation. James didn't suspect anything. They arrived at the warehouse in the late afternoon. The atmosphere was quiet, with only the soft hum of machinery inside. As they walked through and checked the newly delivered shipments, Trang leaned slightly toward James casually, as if making small talk, but with a deeper message hidden beneath her words. The supply side seems a bit careless lately. The last batch doesn't look great. The wood's grain is soft, uneven in color. If we use it for a large order, the quality might take a hit. James paused, his expression turning thoughtful. Are you sure? He asked. Trang nodded subtly, just enough to confirm, without drawing attention. It's just something to watch out for, especially the first stage. Some things may look fine on the outside, but rot from within without warning. James said nothing, but the look in his eyes revealed his understanding. He knew Trang wasn't just talking about wood. On the way back to the office, Trang kept her voice casual. Is Dipe doing better these days? I heard she's still staying at her uncle and aunt's for recovery. James nodded. She's okay. Still likes to walk around a bit for fresh air. Trang smiled, though her eyes grew more serious. You should tell her to stay indoors for a while. Some things aren't as safe as they seem. As long as she stays inside the house, things will be better. James looked at Trang, as if trying to read the layers of meaning in her words. He gave a slight nod, saying nothing, but his eyes said thank you, Trang. Really, if you're able to help out more around here, I'd greatly appreciate it. Trang simply smiled, neither accepting nor refusing. She knew that today's action wasn't just a warning, it was the first step in helping James prepare for a truth he had yet to uncover. That afternoon, the sky was blanketed with gray clouds, and a light drizzle had begun to fall since late in the day. Still, James didn't hesitate. He drove all the way to the countryside home of Dipe's aunt and uncle, where she had been resting after the recent storms in her life. As he arrived, he saw her figure in a pale blue raincoat, bent over, cutting grass in the field. A small sickle glinted in her hand, and several bundles of fresh grass had already been gathered into neat piles ready to be taken back for show, the cow she always cared for herself. James smiled softly, that imaged the woman he loved, humble and unpretentious. Standing alone in the gentle rain moved something deep within him. Without a second thought, he stepped out of the car, no umbrella, no raincoat, just him walking straight toward her. Dipe looked up, surprised to see James in a dark shirt, his shoulders already soaked. "What are you doing?" "You're getting drenched," she said, eyes filled with both worry and surprise. James chuckled and gently brushed a raindrop off her cheek. "I came to see you. And when I saw you out here, how could I just stand and watch?" Dipe blushed, instinctively trying to push him away, but James quickly took the bundle of grass from her hands. "Let me help. It's been a while since I've played farmer." The two of them busied themselves in the field, hands brushing, eyes occasionally meeting beneath the soft drizzle. The breeze swept gently across the open land, and the falling rain only made Dipe's smile shine brighter, fresh, quiet, and utterly real. Suddenly, James plucked a long blade of grass, playfully looping it around her wrist like a bracelet. "Here, a dowry gift for you," he teased. Dipe burst out laughing and grabbed another blade of grass to return the gesture. Laughter echoed across the rain-speckled field. In that moment, all the schemes, all the lurking danger beyond the horizon, felt as if they had never existed at all. So then, has Trang truly changed? Does she have the courage to resolve the deep-seated grudge between her father and James, the man she genuinely loves? Can she continue to protect Dipe from the increasingly dangerous plots closing in? And what about John's plan? Where will it lead? Is he aware of the silent resistance forming in the shadows? Everything remains a mystery. Will the special task force have enough time and enough evidence to expose his crimes and bring him to justice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Trang will choose the right path? And don't forget to tune in to the next episode tomorrow to find out what happens next in this battle between trust, love, and truth. Like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss a single twist in this gripping story.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người ơi, thì hôm nay kênh của mình tiếp tục lên video về James và Lý Tử Diệp nha mọi người. Thường thì video của James và Lý Tử Diệp thì kênh mình sẽ lên rất là đều, ngày nào cũng sẽ có video để phục vụ mọi người. Còn về video Lý Hoài Ca, do là mọi người vẫn chưa có tiếp cận nhiều với câu chuyện của Lý Hoài Ca nên là lượt ủng hộ chưa có nhiều, nên là mình sẽ lên video thưa hơn, là khoảng 2 đến 3 ngày thì mình mới lên một video của Lý Hoài Ca nha mọi người. Và nếu như mọi người yêu quý kênh mình cũng như yêu quý các nhân vật ở trong phim thì mọi người hãy đăng ký kênh cũng như là bật chuông thông báo lên để không bỏ lỡ bất kỳ phần nào mà kênh mình mang tới nha mọi người. Và mọi người ơi, nếu như mà mọi ý kiến đóng góp cũng như để xây dựng kênh và đóng góp cho câu chuyện ngày càng vui và trở lên tươi đẹp hơn thì mọi người cũng có thể để lại bình luận ở phần bình luận giúp mình nha. Và xin cảm ơn mọi người rất là nhiều vì đã theo dõi đến cuối video. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại trong những video tiếp theo.